Thank you for being here today. We have with us Carly Smith, Kharley Smith, who is the Hays County Emergency Management Coordinator, and Ken Bell, Bell, who is the City of San Marcos Emergency Management Coordinator. And Carly's going to speak first.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here again for this update. I want to start off with our most pressing update and some discouraging news in that yesterday we reported that we had a confirmed missing count of 3, and as of this morning that has increased to a confirmed missing count of 12. So we do have 12 missing persons that we are actively searching for. We have additional concerns where we're gathering information from reporting parties to make sure that the residents are missing or are not missing. Again, I want to urge anyone that was in the area and self-evacuated or left and stayed with a friend to call our missing person reporting line. That's 512-393-7725. Again, it's 512-393-7725. That is to report that you know someone that is missing, or you yourself were in the Wimberley area or San Marcos area and left and are safe. We are trying to gather as much information as we can, but we have confirmed a person count of 12 that we are actively searching for as missing individuals. On that safety note, we are expecting rain today. We are receiving information that there are small groups of citizens that are mobilizing and going for searches along the river themselves. I want to remind the public that we do have resources that are designated to those activities. We have local resources, regional and state assets that are actively doing search and rescues. It is not safe for the general public to go down and do those rescue or search operations themselves. We have impending weather concerns. We're expecting a substantial amount of rain later today. That will complicate the situation and add further danger for our residents and anyone that is trying to be down in that environment. So please allow the trained professionals to conduct the search and rescue exercises. And we know that our citizens and community members are wanting to help, and we promise we will allow that to happen as soon as we feel that it's safe in that area for those to go down and help the residents that were affected. Judge Cobb, would you like to say?
George, look into this.
I'm Hays County Judge Bert Cobb. If people are wanting to know what they can do, the Red Cross is asking for volunteers. The Red Cross is in charge of feeding and taking care of our people who are in shelters. They're trying to tend to the physical needs of those people. If you have time and wish to help, especially on this Memorial Day when we remember those who've given all for all of us. The press is here today because there's a lot happening. We need people who will be here for the long haul after the press has gone home, after everybody thinks it's over. I would personally like to ask you, as a historian, amateur that is, if you will maintain photographs of what you've seen that's changed. I propose that we have a archival group of photographs that show what we lost in the flood. It's important that we remember this flood for years to come so that we don't take things lightly. One of our greatest problems has been to get people to understand how devastating a flood is. It costs lives and property, and it'll change them forever. So today, remember those who've given themselves for us. It's not over. The rain is still here. The long-range weather forecast shows that there will be showers probably the rest of this entire month. And so we can never let our guard down. We've got to always be vigilant. Again, if you know someone who's missing, notify us. If you know someone who's on vacation or somehow slipped away, notify us. because we're expending a lot of manpower and time and effort to try to find people who may not be missing. That will allow us to concentrate our efforts on those who are truly missing. Thank you.
Kenneth Bell, City of San Marcos Emergency Management Coordinator. A little bit about what's going to happen today. There are still rescue operations in play. We're going to keep it in a rescue posture, especially with today's impending rains. We're looking at about 2 inches with the noon hour. Everybody in this room knows that varies. Yesterday, or as of 6 hours ago, it was to the north of us. Now it's on top of us, coming our way. So this flood event has gone on for weeks in other areas. We're just now getting our piece of it. A lot of the resources that are on the ground here today are going to be shifting and evolving based on whatever the needs are, especially in our general regional area. Today we're going to be trying to put cities back together again, get them whole through public works teams that are being deployed by the state. We have an incident management team deployed by the state. In fact, they're probably going to be in this room later on. We'll talk about that here in a minute. That will be here for at least the next few weeks. On the recovery side, we've started those processes and no, they're not set up 100%. We're still trying to respond. So you have 2 different phases in an emergency: respond and recover. So the donations, volunteers, information letting, that sort of thing will be solidified by end of day today, and we'll be able to help get the right things to the right place the right way. We are not seeking donations right now. That just adds to our response problems, storing, categorizing, and managing things that are being brought in. The best way on the front end of an emergency especially is just funding to the social services agencies that are helping us on the front end. Right now it's American Red Cross. That's the best way to do business on the front end of this emergency. When we get set up and are able to receive things and deal with it in an organized manner and not have 2 disasters go on, one, the actual flood waters, and the second one, all the things that go along with it with the well-intentioned help, can actually cause a lot of problems for our teams that are trying to do good work. Anybody else on the queue? Okay, with that, is there any questions from anybody? Yes, sir.
All 12 are missing from Hayes County?
Correct.
Okay.
And what does the search look like for them? What kind of teams are out? What does that look like? Can you describe it?
We have somewhere in the neighborhood of, we have over 50 ground personnel from Texas Task Force 1 and local teams that are actively boots on the ground, debris pile, and search type scenarios. We still have people, as of last press conference yesterday, that are in little islands. We sent a boat yesterday, for example, for what appeared to be a group of people that were stranded, and 4 of them wanted to come and the rest didn't. That kind of deal. And the only way they were getting off their little island was a boat. That was as of yesterday. So we're having to deal with that kind of issue. Who's stuck, who's not, and where is everybody? We actually have a pretty substantial list, but we're taking names off fairly quick as well. We have a list of up to 36 that we don't exactly know, but these are people that are calling from Georgia. I'm missing my brother, sister's cousin, whatever, and we find them in a shelter or in another location. That's what we're trying to clean up. The 12 that we're talking about is where we have visual, confirmed witness statements where something has happened. We had an interview last night with a gentleman in the hospital that helped lock down a lot of that number. That's where this is coming from. That's why that changes. We're not going to be reporting things that we can't. Again, I brought this up yesterday. If I can't see it or get some real validity to it, we're not going to push that out to you guys.
Can you confirm where they're from? If they're from San Marcos or Wimberley?
They're right now. The question was, can we confirm where they were from? It was a group of folks that were from several jurisdictions that were meeting together for the weekend festivities.
Is it that same group of the families with the kids and everything?
Correct.
So we've seen the pictures of like 8 of them, the moms, the kids. So are there more children involved in missing, or can you tell us about the other people that we haven't heard about?
That's what we're trying to figure out.
Okay.
It was a social engagement which was very fluid, so we don't know. I've looked at photographs and driver's license photos of all kinds of scenarios, just like you were saying. We don't know. That's what we're trying to lock down.
So you don't know if there, of those 12, I guess I'm asking how many
How many
more
are kids?
children?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
okay.
Are all 12 from that one group? They're all from that one group?
No, again, we had one that we located yesterday, the fatality that was located. I do not believe that was related to that group, but we're still.
I'm sorry, I meant all the missing.
Of the missing.
All the missing are from that one group.
Yes, good question. Better stated, thank you.
Do you have any more information on that fatality?
No, we are there. I've talked to the detective about it this morning. They're actively trying to determine who that is.
And we understand the father, the husband father who was found, went off to surgery, who was part of that group, he was found 12 miles downstream. How has he described what happened from point A to point B where he ended up being found, and how was he found?
I wish I could tell you that information. There, again, in the midst of the fog of the event and the response, I didn't interview that person, so I don't know the answer to that question.
So are you guys searching 12 miles down at this point for the rest of
We have
everybody?
aerial photography that's going on in a very finite way. First thing this morning, they launched. We have drone capability that we're bringing into this thing, GISing, thermal imaging, you name it, we're bringing it to bear. This isn't a deal where we're just using local resources, using state, some federal assets that the state's requested to make this happen.
So what's the plan today? If there is this additional rainfall, what's the plan?
Well, again, that's going to vary. It depends on where the rain falls. As you can tell, and we kind of articulated yesterday, if it does X, then Y occurs. If it does Y, then Z occurs. So we are going to have to be fluid and flexible, and we're probably going to have to reset, re-respond to a lot of things. We'll probably have to reopen shelters in some cases. We've closed down to where we're to 2 shelters. One of them only has 2 people in it. Now we may have to reset all that.
I know it's early, but can you speak to the reverse 911, how that worked out for you?
I'm sorry, I don't
Is that-
understand the question.
Well, the warning, the alert system
Mhm.
that was sent out to residents, any assessment about how well that's worked, if it goes planned?
Well, it's hard to gauge. It's not exactly a new thing for us, but we pushed it a lot more than we ever have, and I think. But we've also have the most very historical event, so it's hard to put apples to apples on the impacts. I think it did a lot of good. We had a lot of people we didn't have to rescue, a lot of things that didn't have to happen as a result of it. It's not perfect. There's buildings that we know don't have telephones that we had to send people directly to bang on doors to get them heads up on the flooding, and that did happen. I know there was a group, 12 buildings I know that we sent officers long before the floodwaters came and say, hey, get out, and they did.
So, of those 12 people, the 12 people missing are all from one group? One group? They came here over the
It's
weekend?
suspected. We have 12 names, based on the interviews and things that we're figuring out. It sounds like it's a group that was having festivities over the Memorial Day holiday that may have all been in the same building at the same time.
But no breakout on adults, kids, any of that?
No, sir. Because it fluctuated. Some left, some,
Oh.
nobody, does that make sense?
Did they come from, but you said from various jurisdictions, from various places, not
Correct.
just Corpus or whatever it was?
Again, multiple places, I don't know the detail. I know it's not all from Hayes County folks, let's just put it that way.
Okay.
And where were they staying in the Wimberley area?
Good question, I don't know. Carly probably answered that better.
Do you have an update on the father?
No.
Will the search continue 24 hours?
No. We do search as much as we can at night. It's more thermal imaging kind of thing. We're not putting people in riverways at dark if we can avoid it. We did have a call, for example, last night at the end of the day where there was people that appeared to be need rescue. We heard them, went to them, and turned out they didn't.
What do you mean by thermal imaging?
Thermal imaging.
Like you just drive by or fly over and see if you see some?
Most of the helicopters are grounding at night right now because of weather conditions.
Mhm.
But we have handheld thermal imaging, we have vehicles that have that sort of thing, where we can get to it.
Okay,
Access points is what I'm talking
Okay.
about, where we can get to that point.
okay.
Who's got those resources, thermal imaging?
Most fire departments have that
Okay.
available.
Do you remember when the last time was that you had some kind of search and rescue operation of this caliber?
We do this, not for this many folks, but we do search and rescue operations on every major event. And we unfortunately have a lot of these in this county. Mainly we have two riverways that tend to bring us to this from time to time. So we're not unfamiliar with this. 98, 2003, 2007, Halloween floods last, so it's not every day, but it's not unusual for us to see experiences like this sometimes.
Did you say that the flights were grounded because of weather?
Yes, sir.
And since last night, or when did that?
We had to bring down most of the flight operations mid-afternoon yesterday because of the ceiling height of clouds. But we will run rescue where we know there's somebody at X location at night. Even in bad weather, it just depends on the circumstances. With everything from wind, rain, direction, everything is a factor when you're sending up a bird like that. We don't want to lose the bird. Sometimes it's safer to bring ground crews in and go by boat.
So just the one death still confirmed?
Correct.
Okay, and any reports from medical facilities on injuries?
No.
I guess maybe if you have any advice for the people that still live along these waterways that are maybe going back to their homes today.
Right. The biggest deal right now, on top of the fact that the power lines are still in play, it looks safe, but it isn't kind of a thing. You've got water. Most of the water out there are in wells that has to be boiled before you drink it. Cities, you're in good shape. Most of those are taken care of. We have no boil of water notices in any city that provides water supply. But if you have groundwater, it needs to be evaluated before you drink it. There's a lot of high fecal counts in the rivers from septics and from all the things in various areas throughout the county that need to be evaluated before you go marching down into those areas just to evaluate. Get in, get out. I know people want to see their properties. Something that brings some closure a lot of times, and then they get out and stay out, but we prefer right now, don't even try. And I suspect the next 2 hours, 2.5 hours, it's going to be raining. We're going to be right back at this again.
And on the note of recovery, any indication yet if any state of emergencies have been issued, if there's going to be any seeking of federal help for this?
That's for the state to do that work. We make our declarations to the state. The state asks the feds. I firmly believe that they more than exceed the requirement for federal guidelines for federal emergency management response. On the back end, you have to keep in mind what FEMA's job really is. It's a recovery group, not a response group. That's what everybody here is doing.
We have time for 2 more questions. Anybody?
Carly, he referred to you about describing where the group of 12 was staying. Oops. Do you think you can do that for us?
Really the most affected areas are the Flight Acres Road, Wayside Drive, River Road in Wimberley, and the residence was in that area. We have roadways, like I just described, that are just a road full of slabs now. We don't have any structures on them at all anymore. It's a devastating area, devastated area, and it's concerning for us with so many structures being missing and the time of day that we are thankful that those reverse notifications went out and hopeful that all the residents exited those structures before they were washed away. But that's the most devastated area, are the streets that I named in Wimberley along the river.
Do we have a time when the governor's going to look to line up for that?
Do you have any idea of the number of structures that were washed away?
Right now, anywhere between 67 and 72 is kind of our rough count. We're trying to really solidify that number, but that's the piers that we can count, or the slabs that we can count that are in that Wimberley area exclusively.
You mentioned Wayside Drive, what about the Flight Acres area?
Yes, sir. Flight Acres, River Road, Wayside Drive.
Do you have an update on how many buildings were damaged with the flood?
That number is continuing to climb. I know that we've talked about the 350 to 400 mark. I think we're at, if we're just talking damage, not determining the level of damage, we're upwards of 1,200, 1,300 at this time.
Is there any way to estimate the cost of this infrastructure damage?
We will estimate the cost. There isn't at this point. We haven't even begun to dig into the roadway damage, any roads that need to be repaved, rebuilt, structural integrity of bridges. That's all still to come, and that number will climb. That dollar amount will climb substantially with that assessment.
For example, there's that bridge on Fisher Shore Road. How much might that run?
That's a question that I'm waiting for an answer for right now, actually. We have some crews that are going out and assessing those roadways that we know need repair or replacement, and so we'll be documenting that and pushing that information up to the state as well.
Any way to give a preliminary number though on how much damage?
Not at this time. At the next press conference, I can assure you we'll have some dollar figures, but we're just able to get those crews into those areas right now to really assess that amount.
There was a curfew in place. What did that mean exactly?
So the curfew was really for public safety efforts. As I mentioned yesterday, the integrity of the roadways and structural concerns of some of the buildings that we have evacuated, we want to make sure that our residents are not getting themselves into an area that is deemed dangerous, especially at night where it would be more difficult to assess the situation. That was really the main reason for the curfew, is to limit the risk for our residents and then limit the risk for our public safety officials as well. Obviously, we're doubling up on shifts and we want as many responders out there as we can, and if we're doing more night operations because people are getting themselves into situations that are deemed more dangerous, then they can't really focus on the day operations, which we're really trying to do that search and rescue piece.
You know, Wembley, everybody was, they'd never seen anything like this. It's one of the biggest floods everywhere, and of course that brought everybody out just to take a look. What kind of problems did that pose for dealing with the situations that you guys had?
It did pose some problems yesterday because I think people were not aware that there's still a existing danger out there. I know the responders were reporting in that residents were driving over bridges and just stopping in the middle of the bridge to get out and look at how fast the water was rushing, and obviously that's not something you would do in a normal day-to-day environment, so it shouldn't be something that you would do in a disaster scene as well.
Just last night? Over?
No, the curfew is continuing tonight. It's remaining in effect 9 p.m. to 7 a.m.
So what does that mean for residents if they go out? Are they going to be stopped by police or what?
Yes, they would be stopped by police and questioned to what they're needing, especially in some of the affected areas. Those are the areas that we're obviously concentrating on. We're not limiting business activity. We're not saying that just because you want to go to a 7 o'clock movie and it doesn't get out before 9, don't go. Obviously, it's for a public safety concern, so it's for the affected areas mostly.
Were there arrests or citations last night?
No, there weren't.
I'm sorry, you said it will be in effect again tonight?
It is, yes.
We heard some people talking about some looting. Have y'all witnessed that? Or?
No, we heard some rumors of it as well. We didn't experience any of that firsthand. We looked into the situation when we heard the rumors, and we really deemed it just that. It's obviously an added concern in this type of situation, and a reinforcement of that curfew regulation. We want to make sure that our citizens' property is protected as well.
A lot of people were asking me yesterday where they could, people were already starting to try and help. Where can I bring stuff? Where can I drop stuff off, clothing, what have you?
Right, we've received those requests as well, and as Mr. Bell stated, we just are not set up to receive large quantities of donations at this time. If you have stuff that you want to donate, please hold on to it. We will push the information out as soon as we're able to receive belongings, goods. Right now, any donation that you're asking to make, we ask that it's a monetary one to a social services organization.
Over 300 people at Wimberley High School the night before, and last night 2.
Correct.
Were those just people from out of town and they left?
Most of them, well, I wouldn't say most of them. There are a substantial amount that were vacationing and returned home. There are those that are more comfortable staying with friends or relatives and left the shelter to go seek those arrangements, and then some that moved to a hotel. the shelter was an immediate need that was met, and it'll be a need that we can meet if it persists, but if it's not necessary, then we'll reallocate those resources elsewhere. All right, thank y'all all for your time,
Thank
appreciate it.
you.
Hello.